Okay, so I saw the other hosts doing a cast assessment a bit ago, and I didn't want to join because I typically don't talk on Discord because, you can't tell. We've got a bit of a speech impediment going on, though, but I can't help it. I want to give my takes on this cast. So I'm going to run through every single person here from whoever appeared first to last, and basically just yap as much as I can about everyone. It's gonna be a bit weird talking to myself about this. This might not get uploaded, but fuck it, we ball. Let's start all the way back, season 1, Azarius. Straight up, right there, he is the original villain of this series. And for that, not a single villain will ever be as iconic as he is. Just right off the bat in season 1, he was getting into fights with the likes of Armando. I believe he might have fought Alana as well. Just straight off the bat, playing the game super hard. Honestly, harder than anyone else that season. And I think because of that, he really made a legacy for himself in a season where no one else did. I mean, it's no secret that Japan kind of sucks, to put it lightly. Um, it's only him, Dan, and Shiba, in my opinion, who really did much of anything at all that season. And all three of them were people I would have liked to see this season. But the only one who actually applied was Az. And honestly, of the three, he's the one who would have made it on if we only cast one of them. So yeah, Az deserves this spot, honestly, more than anyone. He played season 1, he came back for All Stars 1, was player of the season, top 5 character of all time. You can't have a legend season without him. Even just with those 2 appearances. He needs to be here. Then, he played All Stars 2, which he pretty much had the same run as he had on All Stars 1, but to a lesser extent. He was a bit more of a villain than he was in Season 6, but not Season 1. His gameplay wasn't as good as Season 6, better than Season 1. Kind of a trend there. But what Season 12 proved was that he could consistently make the endgame. He is the only person to make endgame 3 times, which is very impressive. He's never made the ends, though, and I don't think he will this season. I do think he could make it fall. Initially, I didn't think that, but every single season, we say, there was no way this man makes it past, like, the pre-jewelry phase of the game. But, this go around, I think he's changed a lot. I don't think he's going to be a villain. I think he's coming into this, honestly, probably going to be a hero. He said in preseason that one thing that's big for him going into this game is his faith, and, how he doesn't want to play just to manipulate people anymore. He wants to play to have fun, meet new people, and just play a game he could be proud of, both from a gameplay standpoint and a human standpoint. He doesn't want to be this manipulative person. He just wants to have fun and be a good guy, which is very different from what we got from him in his first 3 seasons. So I think he has a great story coming into this, and honestly, one of the people to watch. I think straight off the bat, he could get along very well with some of the people on his tribe. Beth is an easy duo for him. I think those two will bond over being massive threats. I also think that the 2 of them would just naturally get along. I think they would have good banter. I think Hyperspace is a bit of a tricky one. I think it could bond over being these big figures, but I feel like their personalities kind of crash a bit, but I think they would come together early on out of necessity. Equal, Az is definitely going to work with. Az will push an old school alliance with anyone, even if he hates them, and I think he'll like Beagle, so that's going to be an alliance for sure. Athena, I don't know how they'll get along. They might be fine, I don't know. Jenny, pretty much same thing. Sachi, he's going to ally with. He was a massive fan of Sachi back in Mementos. He didn't spectate like any of that season besides Sachi. He's a big Sachi fan, which I think would be great for Sachi because he does. I think Sachi coming into this is probably one of the worst positioned people. So having Az in his corner would be a great thing for him. And then Mini, I don't know how he's going to do with Mini. I don't think it'll be bad or anything. But I do think Mini is coming into this game not in the greatest position. But I'll get into that later because I have 23 more people to go. And all I've done is talk about Az. And I mean, if I'm going to talk about anyone for this long, it would be him. I think it's about time to move on. So, moving on to the next person. Played the very next season, season 2, and straight up, Ocean, statistically, is not a legend. And that sounds mean. But then, you hear me talk about what I'm going to say next. From a character standpoint, instant legend. Ocean, there's something about him that's just so. He's the biggest villain ever, even if he isn't trying. Um, Back in season 1, he played a super dominating game, and then all of a sudden, did I say season 1? I meant season 2. If I could edit this, I would, but I can't because. But anyway, back to season 2. At the start of the merge, he had an idol, but realized, oh shit, I'm going on vacation. So he locked in that idol play, put in a vote for Tristan, who we all know is the guy who carried this org for forever. But besides the point, put in a vote for Tristan, and it was looking like Tristan would be idled out 10-1. Might have been 11-1. It was one of the two. But all of a sudden, last minute, Tristan and Toon flipped their votes onto, I believe it was Copy? Yeah, no, it was just Tristan who put his vote onto Copy, but he talked to Toon about it, and together that caused a 9-1-1, leading to Copy being voted out unanimously, and then Ocean going out the very next round, being an iconic character throughout it all. Ocean is just, honestly, peak villain, and with that legacy, he came into Season 6 as, quite frankly, the most villainous of all the villains. I just got pinged for something from the other hosts on the other meeting. Yeah, this is my meeting, and I can guarantee you, I'm gonna talk longer than they do. So, fuck them, I guess. But anyway, Ocean, biggest villain coming into a tribe of all villains. I mean, I just talked about how Azarius is this iconic villain. He got villain of the season twice. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he did. A title only 2 other people besides him have gotten. Monday and Brian, neither of which are on this cast, unfortunately. I think both of them would have fit great, but Captain Todd might have not been able to play. I'm not going to disclose that. I need to get back to Ocean. So, Ocean, biggest villain on a tribe of villains. He was exactly on the top of the villains tribe. In fact, I believe, looking back, he self-voted at the first tribal, which, not the greatest way to start the game, but I believe he did get his way. And then following that, he was in the majority with Zach, Tabitha, and Az to take out Brennan, so he was overall in a good position. Not the best positioned on the villains tribe, but I would put him third or fourth, under Az, Tabitha, and maybe Zach. But then from there, he swapped onto the Atlantis tribe, which is actually not the tribe he swapped onto. No, it was. Okay. It was the Atlantis tribe. Don't mind that. That was the tribe I was on, and it was insane tribe. It was 3 wild cards, 3 villains, and 3 heroes. And right off the bat, Ocean was kind of a figurehead for the villains tribe. He was very obviously someone who led the previous tribe. And this instantly put him on my radar as someone I need to get out, because back then, I was very firmly in the heroes camp, and I was going to play hard to get a heroes win. Now, who cares who I work with? But back then, I wanted to see any of us remaining win. But unfortunately, that was not a shared mindset, and the 3 heroes on that tribe, E, Drake, and Toon, were left out after trying to vote out James. So that meant the 3 heroes stuck together along with James and Kip, the 3 villains I meant, stuck together along with James and Kip, who flipped to them to take out Drake. Ocean led this. He kind of forced their hand, which really showed just how much power he had. And then a couple rounds later, it was becoming obvious that, Ocean's power would be running out soon. He was just way too obvious of a figurehead. So then, at this next tribal we attended, it was the Pendant boot. And this dude fucking hated Pendant. I don't know why he was so against Pendant. For some reason, he didn't even vote Pendant. He voted James along with Toon. While the rest of us votes in for Pendant because it just seemed like an easy consensus thing. Yeah, Pendant, despite wanting Pendant out, real fucking bad. He was mad as hell that we left him out. And that led into the final tribal of the pre-merge, which is when he went out. Az, who I just talked about, this will be a great rivalry going into the season, took Greed, Jurassic Challenge, to specifically get Ocean out of the game. And we all followed through. Ocean left the game 6-1. Best pre-merger. One of the best pre-mergers in Fuzz history, straight up. As I said, statistically, 14th and 11th place, not a legend. But from a character standpoint, you don't get more iconic than him. He's a dark horse pick for this season, and I'm honestly super excited for him. I don't think he'll do well, but I hope I'm wrong, because I want to see more Ocean Man. Following him, we have Beaker, who you're going to notice that there was a lot of winners on this season. And Beaker is the first one chronologically, and in terms of a ranking standpoint, Beaker is kind of a low-tier winner, because his game was pretty much just a pure social game where he positioned himself in a group of, bigger threats. It was him, Frost, as the 2 smallest threats in that group, and then Pendant, and Penzo leading that group. He banked on that group and taking Frost and Penzo to the final 3 and being the lesser of the 3 evils, and then cutting Pendant and any other big threats, myself included, shortly before that. But yeah, in terms of an in-depth rundown on his game, he didn't attend a tribal until the Zac boot at Final 13. He was actually in the minorities there, with Wallace. I'm looking at the shout, stop making mistakes like that. But yes, he was with Wallace, and was left out 4-2-1. Recovered after that, flipped his side to taking out PZ7. Wallace didn't, which leading into the merge made Wallace kind of a easy target. He got taken out unanimously, despite Beagle wanting to keep him around. From there, Beagle pretty much he played a very subtle game at this point. At this point, he's probably the least visible person in the merge cast. He didn't get his way at the Enigma boot, despite it benefiting him. Extinction boot was an easy round. Brennan boot didn't get his way. Well, the Ice boot didn't get his way because he voted for Brennan. And then at the very next round, the Brennan boot, he got his way. Pendant round, he got his way. He had an extra vote he got from the auction. I believe he said it was the Ice Cube when I asked him what it was all those years ago. Don't know how I remember that. But from there, the Gabby boot, she was a pregame friend of his, but he had to take her out just from a pure threat standpoint. And then I was the same thing. Beagle won in the end due to having, frankly, quite a strong social game. I was talking with him a couple days ago about the duos of Estonia, because that was a season that really just dominated by these big alliances. You had the Pussivis 4 of Beagle, Penzo, Frost, Pendant, as mentioned earlier, the Voidor 3, Gabby, Brennan, Ice, which is all-time iconic. We've had other mesh tribes like Von Karma and Clairvoya, but Voidor is the original. 3 characters who you would never expect to work together. And honestly, they probably shouldn't, because they were fucking terrible at it. But it was awesome to watch. I'm going on a tangent. None of them are on this tribe this season, but Beagle was able to really just win out over who honestly coming in looked like he would win. Penzo was a strategic threat. He was winning a bunch of comps. He had 5 comp wins, including the final 3, which I believe might have been the best comp record of anyone up until this point. I know Iris had 4 immunities, and Cody had 3, so yeah, I think that does make Penzo the biggest immunity record at this point. But because of Beaker's superior social game, he was able to win out and secure the win 6-2 to 0, thus getting no votes. And then coming into All Stars, he pretty much did the same thing, was a bit better positioned on his original tribe. He was part of the Lazy Boot in the first round, leaving him in the majority. Not much else happened. Going into the Ice Boot, he voted in the majority to take out Kip, but then Kip, as we know, played an idol. Ice got mega robbed. And from there, Beagle would then go into the Jumaraya tribe, not Atlantis. Like I was on. Like I made that mistake earlier. But here, honestly, Beagle got screwed as hell. There was an easy Matafat boot. But then after that, everyone from Canada season, which would be Tabitha, Scotty, and Paint, were pretty much instantly allied because of their shared relationships from that season. And because of them getting together, Paint was able to bring in Bam, and who was the other one? Bam, and then Scotty and Tabitha got Keegan from the Villains tribe, and together they did a 5-3 on Beagle, taking him out of the game, somewhat for meta reasons of him being an under the radar winner who wouldn't necessarily be the biggest threat, but could arise later. Honestly, a good move, but like I said, a bit meta. Person on the cast is Moo. Moo, I haven't talked to him much recently. I need to change that. After the season, I'm gonna reach out. Moo was, for a very long time, one of my best friends. We didn't talk much after a while, but Moo is the fucking goat. I love Moo. Moo's awesome. Canada, he was in a okay spot initially. He was in the majority in every single vote he attended, so there wasn't really too much to say. At final 11 or 10? I don't know. Redemption Island makes that funky. But he was a part of the Braden Boot, which was 6-5. He was the majority for that. He linked up with other members of his OG tribe like Tabitha, Quiz, Scotty, and Drake, as well as Lacey. That first tribal was entirely based on tribal alliance. But following that, Mood didn't like that. He didn't want to play a tribal alliance game. So he organized a vote to take out Quiz from his original tribe, who was kind of inactive, but he wanted to do this to make new alliances with the other side, and no one wanted to do the same thing. Everyone saw Moo as overplaying here, so a 5-4-1 vote was organized to take Moo out, and he left as the second boot of the march. He then spent the next 4 rounds on Redemption, winning comp after comp. I think he might have the longest stay on Redemption of anyone in series history. Him and Matt tied. They both spent 4 rounds on Redemption that season. But coming back, final 6, he took out Lacey, who was one of the people to take him out a couple of rounds earlier. Then took out Aaron, who was not one of the people to take him out a few rounds earlier, but was a jury threat that needed to go. Then Paint. The two of Paint and Moo both played this season and were very good friends coming into it. They're going to be a story to watch in Legends. The two of them have a very interesting history. I will get into it more later, but I want to watch that relationship. But ultimately, as it stands now, Moo took out Paint at the final 4 and then headed into the final 3 with Matafat and Tabitha, the player of the season, and kind of a goat. I mean, at this point, Moo objectively is a goat. He got voted out. Me personally, I wouldn't vote for someone who got voted out in the end. That's just me, how I see the game. But Matafat was also in that position, so Moo won immunity, took out Tabitha, and then going into final tribal was against Matt, the other redemption attorney, and he was able to beat Matt out in a 5-3 vote. Very good story from Moo. I have ranked him as the worst winner for a long time. I don't think that will ever change, but he really does have maybe the best story of any winner in series history. Genuinely, Moo is just so rootable. He might not always be the most active confessional giver. He wasn't a contender once throughout all of Canada, but he has the story. He has a pretty good social game, and I don't think he'll do amazing this season. I do think he is someone who absolutely deserves his position on this season, and he was an instant lock on the cast once he applied. And going into season 6, I'm 20 minutes into this recording, and I'm only talking about the fourth person, so this is going to be a very long thing. Uh-oh. I'm definitely going to overshadow how long the other producers went, and there's like 5 of them in there. At this point, it's a bucket list item to beat them, because I'm better, and I should have joined that one, but I didn't, so you get me yapping for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of it, it's probably going to be like 2 hours, but if that. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to give my thoughts, so unfortunately, I am giving my thoughts, and some of you will be subjected to listening to it. But coming into Heroes versus Villains versus Wildcards, he was placed on the Heroes tribe, and initially, he was straight up just in a great spot, just right off the bat. He had Drake and Paint from his original season, as well as me, who I instantly clicked with Moo. As I said earlier, we were very good friends. And he was my number 1 on that tribe. I think I was his 2. And we had a pretty easy vote on Max. Sheba first, and then Max the following round. Both people from season 1 who are not the greatest socially, to be frank. Moo then didn't have too much going on until the swap, where there was the Matafat round, where Matafat was taken out. Like I said a bit ago, Matt was who he went to Final Tribal with in the previous season. From there, Moo, Beagle, and Matt formed an iconic alliance of 3. An iconic alliance that lasted 1 round. They were blindsided, Beagle went home. So that's a duo to watch going into this, Beagle and Moo. And at the Merge Tribal, Moo linked back up with me, and we made the Beagle Stand Club Alliance, which won Best Alliance. Maybe the most wholesome group of all time. I don't want to sound cocky here, but it was. Straight up. Great group. I think he shows how likable of a player both Moo and Beagle are, but unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. After an easy Keegan boot, there was a 7-5 organized by Paint, by the way, who Moo was good friends with, to take out Moo in a 7-5. Kind of a similar vote count to how he went out in Canada. And then from there, I followed shortly after. I don't matter here. Yeah. So, Moo this season had some big duos that are very worth noting. I'll get into the Paint thing now. Him and Paint hosted multiple orgs together. I think they played orgs before Canada. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure no one will, because no one remembers that, because I obviously don't. But, he and Paint just had this. They were friends, and then I think they fell off, and then they were friends again, and then they both kind of disappeared and just never talked. So I have absolutely no idea where that relationship stands, which is going to be super interesting coming into this season. I do think Paint is much more likely to succeed than Moo is, but I would love to see them both go far. And then finally, Moo's final season, the only season he was ever a contender for, despite winning Season 5, and he was only a contender once in Blood vs. Water. Moo's game in this season is what I would deem incredibly underrated. Yes, he did get 0 votes, and honestly kind of deserved it in that Final Tribal, but he's the first winner to make Final Tribal Council twice. He played an under-the-radar game despite that. He had good connections with about half the Merge cast, and just played a very solid game. There's a big part of the Freddy blindside round 1 and why Freddy didn't play his idol, and then he was in the majority for the rest of the pre-merge despite losing a close ally due to an idol play in Yosh. at the merge, he was part of the very easy boots for the next like 5 rounds. Voted out Vivi, Ice, Mick quit, voted out Drew, Fred, and then at the Aaron boot, he did run into a bit of issue because Aaron targeted him, but ultimately Moo's social game was just much better. Aaron goes home 5-3. Next round, Moo is once again targeted. Actually, that was the next. I skipped a round. The Fred round, Moo was targeted there, taken out, and then the Aaron round happened. At this point, Moo's social game had kind of fallen off in this one round. He wasn't as active, so the target shifted off to him. Lucy was targeted here, benefited him, and then from there, the Charlin boot happened, who was Moo's Blood vs. Water partner coming into this season. Moo refused to vote Charlin, but Charlin voted Moo for some reason. Then the final 5 and 4, Moo was part of the easy vote to take out Kevin and Ollie, who were threats. Final 3, Moo just didn't have the game to stand up against Kayla and Matt, who Matt is the same Matt who was in the Big Girl Stand Club and All-Stars. And despite this close relationship, Moo didn't vote for Matt to win in the end. He voted for Kayla, which is still kind of shocking to me to this day. I don't think he ever explained why. But yeah, that was where Moo's journey ended. And ever since then, I've wanted him back. It might be a little bit of personal bias, but I love Moo. I think he has a great story. Made the merge 3 times, only one of 2 winners to have done that. The other I will get to later. Might be a bit. But then from there, Paint, I talked about Paint. Maybe I should start going faster. I won't. Paint started out in a very good position in Canada. It was straight up the #1 contender from episode 1. Fell off after that, but stayed at #2, and basically stayed as a contender with the entire rest of the season, sans episode 13. I don't remember what happened. It was 2019. Give me a break. But, first Tribal, he was part of a unanimous schmutz boot, and then didn't touch Tribal until the rest of the pre-merge. He was out of the Drake boot, out of the Moo boot. He was out of the Bladen boot. I say Drake, and I've made this mistake a couple times because it's who he voted for. Wasn't who went home. Bladen went home. He wasn't a part of it. Moo went home. He knew about it, but wasn't a part of it. It was weird. Drake boot. This time, he was a part of it. Quiz boot, he was. Scotty boot, he was. James boot, he wasn't. He voted Tabitha, who then pulled out an idol. Lacey boot, he was a part of it. At the Aaron boot, he and... See, the thing is, he and Aaron were very close. But Aaron voted himself, self-vote. It's Matt and Paint. That voting chart has a mistake. Matt did not vote for Matt. I can guarantee you that. But anyway... I need to go fix those old voting charts. Blooper made those forever ago and kind of rushed through them. Sorry, my throat's dry. Maybe from talking for half an hour straight. But, whoops. Yeah, final 5. Paint loses his closest ally, and then from there, just can't win immunity. Paint kind of fucking sucks at immunity. Gets taken out. He was the fan favorite of the season, hero of the season. Everyone rooted for him the entire time. He was almost fan favorite. Was coming into All-Stars with, frankly, kind of a big target. I mean, he was coming in with essentially the target I had as a fan favorite, hero of the season, #1 character. How could you not see someone like Paint as a threat? And no one did. And to make this about myself, I did. I targeted Paint early on. I tried to, and then I realized, oh shit, maybe I should get in with him. I did. Didn't matter. I don't matter in this case. Paint would be safe until the swap, where he would get together his group of the Canada people, Scotty and Tabitha, who pulled in Keegan, and then he pulled in Bam. They 6-2-1 Matt, and then 5-3 Beagle, and then from there, Paint was going into merge in a very good spot, but it's kind of a threat. He had been a contender on and off for a while at this point, and wouldn't really become one again until right before the finale, because his target was so big. At the Keegan vote, he was mentioned as a possible threat, but we didn't take the shot. At the Moo vote, Moo and Paint battle happened. Paint battle. That's fun to say. I'm losing my fucking mind. But the Moo and Paint battle, Paint won, Moo went home. From there, unanimous Zach vote. Tabitha voted me for some reason. Bam voted me, actually. And the next vote, Paint led the charge against me, along with Tabitha, Bam, and Toon. Bam and Toon was the only two to vote me. From there, Paint was left out of the vote at Final 8. And at Final 7, he wasn't left out of the initial plan, but he's left out of the second and then brought in. Final 7 is a fucking mess. Final 6 he was in. Final 5 he was in. Final 4, Paint should have gone home. He should have. He was going to, but then James basically quit. So then Paint got a spot in the end and ultimately won. It's a bit of a rocky game. No doubt about it. There was a lot of points where he was just not. There were points where he should have gone home, but he didn't, and a lot of that just comes down to how good his social game was. His threat management could have been better, could have been worse. I think he did a good enough job. I mean, he did. He won the damn game. So, okay, chat. For some reason, my microphone disconnected. I don't know why that happened, but he won the game. Yay, Paint. And he didn't want to play David versus Goliath a couple seasons later because he was like, oh god, I would be too big of a threat. And we told him, okay, that's fair, but why don't you come back for the next big Tony season? 'Cause this one is going to be all big threats. And he said, maybe. 3 years passed, maybe 4, maybe 5 years. It's been a long time. And he finally accepts the call. He's playing Legends, and I think he could actually have a pretty good run. I don't see him going early. I could see him being a boot in one of the swaps. Maybe an early merge boot. I don't see him getting past like 8th place. But I do think he at least has a solid run in him, and I'm very excited to see him. I think he'll have a rivalry, possible friendship with Moo, the same exact thing with Az. And honestly, he'll just be a dynamic character, as we always get from him. I'm excited for Pain. I think he'll do great. Following that, we skip seasons 7, 8, 9, and 10 to get into Luigi's Mansion, which is the newbie season with the most reps, because it's the best newbie season. Was the best season until Olympus. But there's 4 players to cover. I'll talk about Rai first. I consider her win to be in a similar vein to Beagle's. Relatively under the radar social win. Good player, makes good moves, but just isn't the biggest outright threat. So this makes her very. She kind of gets to coast through the game for a while, which great job on her. It's because of her great social game that she's able to do this. The only time where she's really ever targeted in the game is at the Beth boot and the Coco boot. Both times she only gets 2 votes at each of them. She pretty much coasts through most of the game. She had a big rivalry with Beth. Had to use an extra vote to secure Beth for sure went home at the final 14. And then going to merge, I was part of the Coco boot, the Christian boot, the North boot, where she made the iconic. If I was sharing my screen, I would show. It's that spaceman meme where there's the spaceman hiding behind the other spaceman with a gun, and they're looking at the Earth, and he goes. So, let me find it. It's the spaceman always has been meme. And I guess it's about Ohio? I've never seen the original version. Wait, it's all Ohio? Always has been. But in the... These memes are weird. I'm gonna close out of that. I don't want to see that anymore. I know what I just saw, and I don't want to see it again. But anyway, I made a thing that was... It's all North. Always has been. Basically saying that all the misinformation spread through the game was through North, who I would get to. I'm going to have a lot to say about him. From there, I was in the majority for all of the following tribals. Got to the end, the 1 vote difference between her and Ren, who I probably would have voted for. Shout out Ren. You should listen to this. But also you shouldn't, because no one should listen to this. But, I need to go fast, because my throat fucking hurts. On from that, we have our second season where she was idled out because of me. I say, because I'm going to make this about me as much as I possibly can. That's just what we do. Early on, on the David tribe, she had a rivalry with Tragic, which was incredible. The two hated each other for no reason. They targeted each other so hard for no reason. Rai won that battle, 10-1. Tragic goes home. From there, Rai would swap onto the Goliath tribe and would have 3 back-to-back tribals. Kunzi goes unanimously, Claude goes unanimously, and Madeline goes in a 6-2. And then from there, she would then swap back onto David. Well, we would have. She would have, sorry, because I wasn't on that tribe. 6-2 North Blindside, and then an easy Mac boot at the following tribal council. And at the merge, she was a part of the Panda vote, as we all were, because he basically quit. Off Panda, that's my goat. Rabbit's boot. This was a crazy tribal. Maybe I'll talk about this at a later date, because if this goes well and I don't feel too self-conscious about uploading this, I might, go through and just, record videos every once in a while of just me talking shit about Fuzz. If anyone wants to see that and you made it this far, tell me, because honestly, I would love to talk about this stuff if anyone listens and, stands to hear my voice, so maybe we'll do it. Maybe I'll even record it, as a video. Who knows? But, yeah, I was left out. The Rabbit's boot, tragic, sad day. Dean vote she was in on. Robert vote she was in on. Dan vote she was in on. And at this point, there was a couple alliances going on. There was the old school people, me, Iris, Zach, and Azarius. I hate Iris. Iris hates me, so that group isn't really a thing. And then there's the David side plus John, which is Chadwick, Blooper, Rai, and John. And going into Final 8, for some reason, they decide, because the old schools has me and Iris who hate each other, but then also 3 people in All Stars 1. Me, Zach, and Az. That's a trio that they should have targeted, but they targeted Iris for being a big threat. Iris goes home at 8. Probably a really bad move on Rai's part, because then at the next round, I was able to get my side to all vote for Blooper, and then I passed a half idol to Blooper, who then idled out Rai, who I told him to take out because she was slipping by under the radar, had a great social game again, could have pulled off what she did in Luigi's Mansion, and I wasn't going to let that happen. I took a stand against the Canadians. And then, Arcane, actually a very similar story. She swapped once with Ren. They have a great story in it. I'll try and remember to cover that in the end. But Ashley boot, she's on board to unanimously take out Ashley. Fezzy, Ian Key vote was close, but she was in the majority there. Liz vote, unanimous. Celeste vote, she was in the majority. It was a split vote. Kels, they were close friends coming into the season, but she took out Kels. And then she basically just rides being in the majority at the Doomsday vote, the Leafy vote, the Boz vote, and then but trial. Bad twist. I don't know why we did that. If I could do it again, I would not do that twist. I fucking hate it. It's bullshit. But the one good thing about that twist in this season was that there would be 2 groups, and instead of an immunity challenge, there would be an idol. And whoever won the challenge would get an idol that no one would be told about. Ben won this. And he said, okay, I'm gonna play this on Rai, because actually I fucking love Canada. This man fucking hates Canada. He still says that shit. I don't know. I guess he wanted to make an artificial arc of oh yeah, man, I love Canada now. Big mistake. Man fucking hates Canada. But anyway, he wasted the idol. Rai went home. Ben went home, sorry, and then Rai followed out shortly after, where she was idled out herself in a 6-2. Yep, 6-2 votes for Maury, negated, 2 votes for Rai. They were, I believe, Maury and Jazzy. Yep. They took out Rai for similar reasons I did in David vs. Goliath. And then going back to Luigi's Mansion for the 3 other reps we have to talk about. We have North, Jalen, Beth. Also talk about North. Absolutely led the Clairvoyant tribe. Hot mess. I talked about them earlier when I talked about Voidal, but they were a mess. And North really formally led this tribe. Whatever he wanted to happen, happened. Katie's, he wanted Katie's out. Dom, he took out Dom so he could have Adam to himself. Plain Marina took out Evo. Jack, who he had spared for the last 3 tribals to keep as a goat, he finally cut him off because he felt closer to Adam Whittle. Going to the swap, his castle kind of started to crumble. It was an easy Mikey boot, which benefited him. But then from there, North just couldn't bring himself to vote for Beth. And because of that, he and Beth were put in the minority, voted for Rye. Beth went home. It kind of develops like this rivalry friendship between North and Rye. Like, he targeted her, but then she didn't care. And they would go on to play more seasons. I will talk about that. Now, North is part of the Jalen boot. Honestly, kind of big move-itis. He didn't really need to do that. Kind of put an even bigger target on him. Mission boot, he pulled that off. I mean, good. No, he didn't. He voted Braggy, who then had an idol. He did not pull that shit off. I lied. I don't know. He targeted Madeline. Just couldn't get the numbers. He went out 5-4. I voted him out. Yeah, that was the end of him. He had a big threat alliance with Rabbits, Whittle, and Ren. Didn't go anywhere. Because none of them made the end. David vs. Goliath came back, was a part of a big threats alliance right off the bat, with me, Az, Iris, and Panda. The 5 biggest threats coming into the game on that tribe. North thought he was on the team. He didn't really fit in terms of like a statistical standpoint. But from a game standpoint, he was an obvious fit for that group. I mean, Luigi's Mansion, he was such an obvious top dog who would have that notion against him going to the season. So we brought him in, and he pretty much stood in a good position for all of his time in the Goliath tribe. He was a contender for the first 3 episodes of the season, which happened to be the 3 episodes on the Goliath tribe, and then he would be in a fine position on the swap tribe where Cudsy went out unanimously, Cod went out unanimously, and then he was part of the Madeline boot, which they had some drama. I will not get into that. And then from there, he made the next swap where he was on the David tribe. Thought he was in a good spot. Unfortunately, he was not. As Azarius organized the blind side to take out North, which went through. Other members of that blind side, Chadwick and Drupal, also had a big point in it. But yeah, North went home. Pretty upset with his boot. But had a lot of control up until that point. And unfortunately, it just kind of caught up to him. Got the best pre-Joro award. And man, I sure hope that exact same trajectory doesn't happen 6 seasons later, 2 years later. I hope he doesn't get 2 placements better, but still ultimately best pre-Joro blindsided. But that did happen. I was trying to make a good segue there, but that didn't work. The Frail and Ripple boots, Orion, the yellow boot, and then pretty much just dominated. There's not too much to say that I haven't already in David vs. Goliath. He pretty much just played the David vs. Goliath game, but better, but it unfortunately caught up to him in the end. He was blindsided at the final pre-merge round. Best pre-draw, best series history, quite frankly. He's the only pre-merger to get A tier or higher, and A tier. And the character rankings. Yeah, you'll notice that a lot. Speech impediment goes crazy. It probably sounded like I said crazy. Crazy? I don't fucking know. Bear with me, guys. But yeah. I think on this season, of everyone here, and frankly, everyone who's ever played this org, he's probably the person who cares about it the most, besides myself. I think for that reason, he will be a very interesting player to watch. Because he really wants to do well. And if he gets pre-merged, he's going to be heartbroken. And I'm going to be heartbroken. Because he cares about this so much, and I really want him to succeed. But man, I just feel he's primed for late pre-merge boot, maybe early merge. But despite how much he's going to try to do to keep that threat level down, I think his ego will, as it always does, just kind of get the best of him, and he'll overplay, and ultimately lead to himself getting taken out. I would like to talk about his relationship with Rai, because the two of them have talked about maybe forming a bit of a duo. Well, okay, no, they haven't talked about it together, but North has said in his interview that he wants to duo with Rai, and I think If he can get that to work, that could honestly be the best thing North could do for his game. Would really help him positioning wise to have someone like Rai who could cover for him and hopefully hide some of the bullshit he does. So I would love to see, no matter how North places, if he's force boot, he'll be the best force boot ever. If he wins, maybe one of the best winner characters ever. North is a spectacular narrator. I'm a big fan of him. I hope he does well. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I hope North does well. But I just worry for him. But now that I think about it, I had not talked about how I think the last few people place. As I had said, probably late pre-merge Ori Jory, Ocean, maybe force boot. Pico, I think, is the winner. I'm second most confident in making it fall. I don't know if he'll win. I'll cover who I'm more confident in later. Moo, probably first or second swap, because let's be honest, there will be at least 2 swaps. I'm not going to hide that. Paint, early merge, as I said. Vi, probably mid-merge again, like she was in David vs. Goliath and Arcane. I don't think the trajectory will be any different. She might be idled out. It'll be super funny. North, he's gotten 9th, he's gotten 16th, and he's gotten 14th. So I want to put my money on 15th because it would be funny if he got 14th, 15th, and 16th. It wouldn't be funny because I'd be sad, as I said, but also it'll be real fucking funny. Jalen was a top contender for all of Luigi's Mansion up until his boot. He was the only hero on a cast of 21 people, 20 villains, and him. That cast was just full of villains. Jalen was the only reasonable guy on that entire cast, and that made him someone we wanted back so bad on David vs. Goliath. Couldn't get him, he didn't want to do it. He kind of disappeared, came back all those seasons later for Olympus, where he would play a great game, but to quickly cover Luigi's Mansion, there's not much to say besides he was in a great spot for the beginning of it, but unfortunately, there was just a big move against him at Final 11, took him out. Unfortunately, he was the male Ponderosa. A very positive one, might I add, which is a great thing to have. He's like the perfect male Ponderosa. In Olympus, which he came back for 9 seasons later, like 2 years, I don't know, he formed an early duo with Brian, which is Brian is the 2-time villain of the season after this season wrapped up, and Jalen was a 2-time hero of the season once this wrapped up. Kind of a weird duo. Like, they get along personality-wise, but from a purely, logistical standpoint, seems a bit strange. But the two of them basically dominate the OG Percy tribe. And together, they take out Dials, they take out Connell, which, that move aged very well. Yeah. And they take out Logan and Inferno, and then pretty much sit pretty until the next swap, the final swap of the game, which honestly, well, kind of in Jalen was in hot water for. He had swapped away from Ryan at this point, but Starsy vote was easy. Starsy fucking sucked at challenges. I'm sorry, Starsy. Don't mean it. I mean, I do. You would say it too. You're not gonna listen to this. Maybe someone will ping you, but yeah, you know it. You know that. At the Nate boot, I believe what happened. My memory is a bit foggy, but regardless of how exactly it went down, it's basically the same steps. Someone passed an ocean. Ryan passed an idol to someone. I think it was Jalen who gave it to Noyan, or maybe no, it was Double, but Jalen knew about it. Double was given an idol which he gave to Noyan, who negated every single vote, and Noyan put in a vote for Nate. Nate goes home, massive threat, super close ally of Minnie, who then went home the next round. Jalen was then, because of this, a part of taking out 2 of the biggest threats to his game, going into Merge in a great position. Mike going out was not optimal for him. He was one of the 7 Brody voters, but Mike was probably the bottom of the Ryan's Kids Alliance, I would say. So it wasn't the worst outcome, but it wasn't the good one. But it could have been worse. He then was part of the Flare vote the very next round. He was exiled at the Skeletor vote. Skeletor goes on regardless because people were flipping on him soon anyway. If not this tribal, then the one after. Ryan's Kids Alliance then reconvenes to take out Edvin 6-5. Noyan gets an extra vote play successful. Noyan. Double then goes home unanimously, on a unanimous vote of the merge, because Final 3 doesn't count. Michelle boot, Jalen's probably taking out Michelle. And then, unfortunately, at the Brian vote, Jalen voted in the majority, but the person he voted was idled out. I mean, his number one ally, Brian, was idled out after an idol was played on Brody. Brian went out. So then going to Final 6, Jalen had Noyan and Danny as his remaining allies against Tucker, Badger, and Brody. And neither side was going to flip. Some of them maybe should have, but they didn't. 3-3, 2-2. 3 people draw the locks. It's Tucker, Danny, and Jalen. Jalen draws the lock, ends his journey. Really secures him his second hero of the season. He's someone who will be loyal to his side no matter what. He'll fight hard for his friends. Super respectable. I think Jalen's a great guy. I would love to see him do well this season. I think he might be a late pre-module. That's just what my gut says. And I'll say that about a bunch of people. I feel like that just makes sense for him. I do feel like he might maybe get a bit burnt out socially. I don't know. That's just... He's played a lot of orgs recently, and a lot of super taxing ones, and I feel like it could catch up to him. I hope it doesn't, though, because I think the longer you have Jalen on a season, the longer your season is a super positive one. And then after that, the 9th person to cover, which, to be completely frank, I would talk less about people as we go on, as my voice starts to hurt more than it already does, because it does. But also just because a lot of these early people have played a bunch of seasons. Or these later people, most of them only have 1 or 2 shots. So, it'll go quicker, I swear, hopefully. But also, I want to last longer than the other podcast did. And at the moment, I don't know if I will, because looking at it, I'm going to spy on them, insider information. Oh, wait, never mind, they stopped. They went on for 1 hour and 21 minutes. They are just chilling in the chat, talking now. I'm glad none of them have come here. But I've been going on for 52 minutes, so I just gotta be 30 more minutes. I can do that. Beth played Luigi's Mansion, wasn't a good spot initially. Not like the best spot on the tribe, but like she was never in any danger whatsoever. I mean, like, she didn't have to attend a tribal, so she pumped out to swap. At swap, it was the easy Mikey vote, and then unfortunately she would catch the vote. At Final 14, she and North bonded a lot and became a great duo. I'm very interested to see how they would do together coming into this season, because I know there was a bit of a shaky point for them. I don't know if they're exactly friends at this point. I think they're on good terms. I think they'll probably work together. They might play up how they didn't get along for a while. I don't know. I think that would be the optimal play for them. Pretend they hate each other, but don't leak a bunch of info to each other. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, Beth caught the boot heel. And honestly, great pre-merge character. Needed a chance to come back. We made a season for people just like her. People who fucking sucked. By that, I mean people who went pre-merge. I don't mean they sucked. I mean, obviously, they didn't. We wanted them back. And I mean, Beth is proof that they didn't suck. Because Beth played, in my opinion, the best winning game in Fuzzvivor history. She straight up dominated the game socially from front to back. I mean, a lot of people say that she had goats who would do anything for her, and that's why she win. I do feel like that kind of... My microphone cut out again. I feel like the goat statement kind of discredits a couple of players, namely Shinx and Starzy. But, I mean, in a way it is kind of true. I mean, Beth was given fire at Final 4. I'll get to it, but Beth's social game is just top tier. Social game is what I value more than anything else in the game of survival, or really any social strategy game. So Beth having the best one in series history just kind of puts her at the top, but she had the strategic game to back it up too. For the entire pre-merge, she's a part of unanimous vote after unanimous vote that she pushed. At the second swap, though, there was one non-unanimous vote in the Skiwi vote, which that move aged super fucking well. They idled out Skiwi. Beth was a part of this, along with her friend Kelsey, who she then turned on the very next tribal, because I think Kelsey and Beth had a falling out that round. They didn't trust each other anymore. some reason. Don't quite remember why. Beth then had 2 easy votes that benefited her a ton, the Luke and Mikey votes. The Elmo vote was a great move for her because Elmo was, at this point, her biggest threat to her game because he was super connected but wasn't connected to her. So they were both kind of leaders of the alliance, of opposing alliances. So Elmo going, great for her. Tucker was Elmo's right-hand man. He went out right after. Great for Beth. James, Beth played an idol at Final 9, which took out James. Then we had another lockjaw. I just talked about Jalen. We had the 4-4, and then 3-3, and then Benj was locked out, which gave Beth's side the majority, which she then used to vote out Freezy. She was wrapped out of the 3-2-1, pulled off by Brian at the Final 6, but then she got the last laugh after taking out Brian at Final 5, with another idol played on Beth. She should have gone home at Final 4, but Jinx said, nah. That's exactly how he sounds when he said it. He went, nah. Digital, cut that out. But, Final 4, she won File. Couldn't have been in File. Goes to the Final 3. So you had kind of a sloppy Final Tribal. I mean, it should have been a lot better than it was. But ultimately, it worked out. She won the game. Best winner in Fuzz history, in my opinion. Actually, I think she would do well in this season. I said off the bat that I think she gets along with people like Beth. Well, yeah, I hope she gets along with herself. But no, she gets along with Beth. She gets along with Az and High. Yeah, that's right. I think those two people would be great duos for her to establish early on. I do think something like a mid-March, maybe early endgame placement for her makes sense. She'll have an obvious target on her back. I think just how good her social game is should carry her for a lot of the game. I hope she goes that far, because she deserves it. Great player. But who knows? Now, Phil, moving on to Durock. Fuck that season. Stupid ass Durock. Hate that season. Let me see. Do I have Fedboat in this oval? Tangent that I don't need to go on. But you know what? I'm going to go on it. So while I prepare this tangent, I'll talk about Durock a bit. Because it might take a bit. Durock was a mess of a season. It had like 25 drops. And season went from 20 people to 16 people real fucking fast. Phil was a top player for all this season. They were #1 contender the first episode, and then kind of fell off a little bit, but by the end of the pre-merge, they came back to being a top contender. And, uh-oh. I've got, bad news. See, this bit that I've been preparing is ready now. I don't know how to use Fredboat, so let's hope I can figure this out. Play? Yeah. So this is what I want to do to Durock. Reference the I, if you remember this, chat. Uh-oh. I need to give Fedboat mod permissions. Haha. He now has mod permissions. He's gonna play what I would like to do. The Durock. I said, he's gonna play what I would like to do. The Durock. No, that's Chew. This is going great. He's gonna do what I want to do to Durock. Alright, hold on. He needs to view channel and connect. This is why I need an... Who wants to edit this? I don't know how. So I won't, no one will. But, Fedboat give bots permission to connect and speak. Bots connect and speak. I'm doing this from the season 23 server. So if you go back, you'll see like, oh, a couple bots got invited here for no reason. Yeah, I'm the reason. Let's see. Connect, speak. I should be able to do this. Missing view channel and connect. So I want to specifically give Fedboat permissions to do this. At this point, I'm in too deep. I have to finish the bit. Cause I fucking hate Duloc, you know? This is what I want to do to Duloc. I want to kill it. Fedboat. Fedboat, activate. Go. Fedboat? Try directory. Oh. Okay. It doesn't support YouTube. I will have to figure something else out. Okay. This will be it. Oh, what? That was scary. Ooh, bit of a teaser for what I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's what I want to do to Duloc. Yeah, now that that's out of the way. Time to talk about Duloc again. So Phil was the top contender pre-merge, fell off a bit, came back on, like I said. Allied with Ally and Connell. One of those didn't age well. But voted Ally at the first vote of the merge for some reason, despite being close by this point. But Ally plays an idol. Nate and Sinopo both get a vote. Ties 1-1. Nate goes first, and then Sinopo the following round. Both of which benefit Phil a bunch because they were both figures in an opposing alliance. From there, a flip would happen, partially orchestrated by Minnie to take out Ally. Phil, Connell, and Ally were left out of this, and then the following round, Connell would be taken out. Phil could have been, probably wouldn't have been, because Phil had a strong connection to Silent. But at this point, at least, Phil was being left out. So Phil needed to win immunities, and they did. They won the next 4. They then took out Minnie. They gave Silent file making. Silent lost, but they won final immunity, so took out Savvy. And then Phil should have won unanimously. Claude didn't deserve votes. Oh, guys, no one send this to him. Please don't. Please don't. I'm actually begging you. Don't send this to him, because I'm not going to edit this video. So, like, please do not. Please don't send this to him. Yeah. I said earlier that if any winner could do it again, straight up, I think it's Phil. Even, like, if any winner could make Final Tribal again, I think it's Phil. I think Phil has only grown as a player since Duloc. I think Phil is a master of positioning. I think Phil is super mature strategically, even though it might not seem super obvious, which sets Phil up in a great spot to really just get themselves in a solid alliance, get in a core of that alliance, in a core within the core of the alliance, and just get to the end with someone they trust a ton, who trusts them a ton, and then just win out because of how likable they are. Maybe they'll get sniped early or they'll go mid-merge, but I don't know. If any winner does it again, I think it's Phil. And Minnie from the same season. The only other Duloc I need to cover. Thank God, hate that season, fuck Duloc. You know what I want to do to Duloc, right? Running the bit back. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna cut that off. The bit's overstayed its welcome. I kicked Spot. Um, hopefully I don't run the bit back, cause that would be a shame. Minnie was part of the Link boot at the final 15 at Duloc, and then the Keanu boot in the following rounds, which benefited him, and then he pretty much did nothing for the rest of the pre-merge, like everyone else. Duloc fucking sucks. Voted out. Pretty much nothing about Duloc's, Minnie's Duloc game. Like, he was a consistent contender, great confessionalist. Not a contender, he was never a contender until, like, fairly late in the game. But he was a consistent, great character at this point. One of the few people actually doing confessionals. He's close to Nate and Sinopa. So great thing, Nate gets idled out. Sinopa goes out right after, so Minnie needs to make a move. And he is able to. Ally goes home, and at the final 6, he idles out Connell, which that move aged better than more than maybe any other move in Fuzz history. Good job, Minnie. Unfortunately, he called the boot the next tribal. Unfortunate. The final 7 round and the final 6 round were just peak character moments for Minnie. I mean, there was memes in Spec Lounge of I believe in Minnie's supremacy. Minnie's missed. Minnie was goated. Okay, we love Minnie. So of course stands the reason that we bring him back for Olympus, which at the beginning he kind of sucked. Like he was a great character, but he wasn't positioned well at all. Off the top of my head, I think he was like 20th out of 23 Addison 1 power rankings. So yeah, he was not in a good spot. I would go as far as to say he was in a dog shit spot. So not a good thing for him. But have what I like to call the mini upside, which I will bring up later if I remember it. Well, he wasn't in the best spot, but if he swaps with people from his original tribe, they would then feel the need to work with him. Because, like, why not? I mean, it's from his original tribe. And then he could bond with those people a ton, which he then did. Was able to take out Hazel and Dust successfully at his 2 tribals. He really led the Dust boot, honestly. At this point, he's risen to being a top contender. He got so much power so suddenly. Like, he went from 24th to, like, 5th to, like, 2nd to 2nd. Really solid contender. I got Stalzy, which kind of benefited him. But then, Nate was idled out. Uh-oh. Vinny was taken out right after. Uh-oh. He gets a chance to win his way back into the game. Yippee! Doesn't win, unfortunately. Uh-oh. Loses the game. Uh-oh. Flair wins. Only lasts around. Uh-oh. Vinny's journey ends. But he's coming back 4 seasons later. I don't think Minnie would do that well, unfortunately. I think I don't see him making it past like 18th. And I think some of that's because of like time zone stuff, but also because I worry that he's gonna have a similar run to Olympus early on, where he just won't connect super socially with people right off the bat, and that'll lead to him catching an early boot before he can really take off like he did in Olympus. I hope that's not the case. I love Minnie, but yeah. It's very possible. And now on to Mystery Dungeon. We have High Space, who earlier I said Beth was the best winner in Fuzz history. High Space is the second best. Beth is famous for her amazing social game. High Space is famous for his amazing strategic game. And honestly, his social game isn't bad either. I mean, people like to make fun of him for his social game, but at the end of the day, he was the #1 most trusted in that game. Like, that's not bad social game. He was #1 contender for every single episode that season, sans episode 6 and 15. He was in the majority for every single round of the play-merge, including the Bailey blindside, which was a great move by his part. Don't really know if it was blindside, actually, now that I think about it, but great move for him. He took out Steph and Liz, who were opposing numbers to him that really needed to go. He then, at this point, was kind of a comp threat, a strategic threat, so he caught a bunch of votes, but he was able to successfully play his idol, tipped off Felt to also play his idol, meaning 1 vote counted, and it was Highs, and he took out the last remaining member of the contingent of Steph, Liz, Danny, and Quody, besides Quody. Took out Danny. Danny's out of there. From there, Felt goes inactive, he gets the boot. And from there, High Space has a solid group with Badger, and James, and Quody's just kind of vibing. Takes out the duo of Boz and Hunter back-to-back, and then High wins immunity, takes out Quody, who's his biggest joyous threat at this point, wins final tribal 5-2, only doesn't get the votes of the Liz and Steph contingent. Great game by High, player of the season. He held multiple idols, just played a really damn good game. I wish I had more to say. My voice hurts, and honestly, I just can't think of more. Had a great game. I do worry for him this season, though. I do think, off the bat, there are some personalities he might just not mesh well. I don't see him being super close to North. I don't see him being super close to Phil. I don't see him being super close to Beagle. These are just the very first people I thought of. And not being close to a good sign if the very first people I think of are people I think he won't get along really well with. I think he'll get along with Beth, which would be good, because she'll be a power player. I think strategically he'll align with Azalius, which would be great for him. They need to work together. But once we get to a swap scenario, I just struggle to see him really make it past that, you know? Something like an 18th place or 17th, 16th, that range just makes sense to me, unfortunately. Which is sad, because I think a season with high space is going to be a good season. The runner-up to high space on that season was Badger, also known as LTT. He had a great journey on season 14. He won the best journey award. Like, you know, he had a great journey. He was a part of the unanimous super vote. He was super close to Cascade. Didn't age well. But at least he wouldn't have to be close to Cascade for long, because Cascade would be taken out, Badger would be blindsided, and then would then spend a lot of the game just trying to recover his positioning. He would be a part of 4 unanimous votes during the pre-merge, but like, whatever. His positioning still wasn't great. Badger, at this point, is a part of the quality contingent. It has James and Liz and Steph. I think I mentioned Danny as a part of that. He wasn't really. Now that I look at it, because they voted for him. But Badger loses Steph. Uh-oh. Loses Liz. Uh-oh. Loses Danny. Uh-oh, with a question mark. Felt is a good thing for him. And then he's in the alliance with High and James, and they take out the duo of Baz and Hunter, and Cordy goes, and Badger is able to secure 2 votes. Great story. Unfortunately, just didn't have the control to pull it off. Maybe he could have beaten James and Felt. I think that's his best endgame scenario. Or if the season remained a Final 2, because that season had a Final 2 button where you could pick would it be a Final 2 or Final 3. Ooh, it was a 3. It went back and forth a bunch. I think he might have been the one to hit the button a bunch. So if it was a Final 2, truly, I think he probably wins the season if he can beat High in Final Immunity, which he might not be able to. I don't think he does. So he's probably 3rd place. I mean, 2nd place is more impressive than 3rd, because it's so impressive he had to do it again. Coming into Olympus, great segue, maybe the best of my life. He doesn't attend a single tribal until Swap Tribe, which is good because he's not actually in the greatest spot. He has a good relationship with Tuckle, but for Swap, he votes for Mike. Mike doesn't go, and then he votes Dust. Dust goes. And then is a part of the Hot Mess tribe that has the Nate boot and the Mini boot. Despite all those rounds being unanimous, it was a hot mess. Then Badgers in the Eaters Alliance with Tuckle, Michelle, Brody, Edvin, Frail, kinda. I'm probably missing someone. They are able to successfully idle out Mike, which probably wasn't the greatest idle target, but like, whatever. Frail then goes to the next round, which is a loss, but then they make up with it by taking out Skeletor, and then a loss when Edvin goes, but then they get double out, but then uh-oh, Michelle goes out, but then yay, they win, Brian's out. I mean, really, it's just back and forth, these alliances trading. It's 3-3 going into Final 6, and the Eaters finally hold the majority after the Rocks takes out Jalen. They then lose the majority, as Badger flips to Noyan and Danny to take out Brody. Badger then flips back to his duo partner and Tuckle to send him. Badger has immunity, gives it to Tuckle, and then summons himself into fire against Danny and wins. And then at Final 3, Badger wins and takes Tuckle to the end and loses the game. Badger probably wins against Noyan close to unanimously. I'm thinking a 9-2, 10-1, something like that. Instead, he loses to Tuckle 6-5. Terrible move taking him to the end, but also I respect it a ton. I mean, straight up, it's just a respectable play to take your number 1 to the end. I do think this is good and bad for him going into this season. I think people will see that duo as a big concern. They might get targeted for it. But also, if Tucker goes early, or even if he doesn't, Badger can gain himself a super loyal number. Keep me around, because I'll do this for you. That could be a great thing for him. I'm feeling Badger, he could place anywhere. Genuinely, I think he could go anywhere. If you made me pick a place, fuck it, he gets 8th. I don't know. Sure, it's 8th, okay. Moving on to 8-bit. Oh, for Penguin, because I gotta talk about Tuckle, who I just mentioned for Badger. Tuckle, what? Oh, God, I'm losing my voice. Yap Sesh needs to end. Tucker in Club Penguin, he will reject this notion that he was a villain, but my god, he was a villain. Almost toxic at points. Let's hope he doesn't listen to this, but no, he will. Hi, Tucker. No, he won't, but hi. He was able to cruise through the original phase of the game, bunch of unanimous votes after that. He went to a ton of trials. He had the petition idol, which I love. A scrapped idea for this season was to bring that back. A scrapped idea, I mean, I thought of it, never mentioned it to anyone else. But we should have done it. I love the petition idol. Basically, you find it, and then you can ask people to sign your petition. And if they do, it negates one more vote. One vote for each person. Now, you don't need to specify what the petition is for. I've seen people say, uh-oh, I lost my vote. If I get 3 signs, I'll get it back. Or something along those lines. Tucker just straight up told everyone what it did. Unfortunately, he wasted the idol. And would then lose his number 1 a couple of rounds into the merge and go out himself a couple of rounds later. The story just kind of ended as being a villain, kind of an asshole, frankly. But that would have been an okay spot going to Olympus, because he didn't have a particularly large threat level. He was one of the last people to apply to that season. And coming into it, right off the bat, you could see just how amazing his reads were strategically. I think he has a strategic head on his shoulders that you really wouldn't expect. I think he's great at understanding what everyone's most optimal move is and playing around that. And I think that could be a massive boon for him in this season, if he can pull that off again. I mean, he had great reads on people like Double and Badger throughout Olympus. He was a part of a bunch of taking out big threats early on in Olympus. To be fair, these were unanimous votes, but he was a part of voting out Minnie and Logan. He was a part of the Eagles Alliance that took out Mike. And then, I mean, I'm not going to cover the back and forth that was Eagles versus Brian's kids again, or this Baco fits all, or let him cook, or all those other things Edwin called the Nord Alliance. Personally, I call it the gays versus straights, as Noyan said, because I mean that's what it was. I mean that is the gays versus straights alliance. Frankly, I mean if you want to reject it, you're fucking stupid. Like that's just what that shit was, you know. But where Tucker's game really kicks into overdrive. By overdrive, I mean it's been in it all game. But really, what won the game for him was his relationship with Badger. Badger straight up gives him immunity against. No, that was a good move at 4. But then taking Tucker to the end at Final 3, bad move, but ultimately wins Tucker the game, loses Badger the game. I think that duo this season would be interesting because I could see Badger taking out Tucker to get rid of that threat, the notion that, oh, they'll work together. So I'm curious to see how that'll work out. I'm feeling an early merge placement for Tucker, personally. Like I don't know, early merge, figure it out, do the math. 8-bit Outlaw is the first one I'll cover, and I don't have too much to say about 8-bit because 8-bit kind of sucks. Easy votes for him, Joy. Enjoy. Looking at this, he was left out of a lot of votes, honestly, during the merge. I mean, he didn't vote for Edwin. He didn't vote for Michelle. He didn't vote for Jenny initially. Like, he was left out of a lot. But he still did have a solid social game, great positioning, won 5 individual immunity challenges. Played what I think is the best game of the Final 3. But that Final 3 is also, like, the most evenly matched Final 3 ever. It reminds me a lot of Survivor 43, where you have 3 players who are not bad players, but they're also not amazing. And ultimately, one is able to win out because of the social game, which was Ethan. I think personally, I vote for Outlaw or Lane, but they're all equally valid winners. Outlaw has the story of being like this strong comp beast, confident player, and he brings that into Soul Society Season 23 last season, where he is a captain, and unfortunately, it does not go well. The cast is instantly split into the young people versus the old people, and he's one of the old people, and pretty instantly ostracized by the young people, and honestly, it was kind of gross. A lot of the things said about him and other people, like Plushy, were just kind of uncalled for. So, fortunately, Tashi Outlaw that side was able to secure the first vote, get Mike out, great for them, and then they don't have to worry about another tribal to the swap. Unfortunately, Outlaw would be with Nikki and Neeb again, who were people against him on the last tribe, and they would flip to the other members of this tribe, of the other starting tribe, Ellie, Morgan, and Lenny, to take out Outlaw and kills her shortly after. Outlaw's journey was a really sad one. He started out in a bad spot, recovered it, looks to be going good, and then he gets swap screwed. I think he deserves the spot on this season. I think he's probably one of the more controversial picks on the season, but he absolutely deserves it. I'm excited to see Outlaw. Unfortunately, I don't think he does well. I could see a pre-swap placement or a force swap. I don't know. I hope he does well. I just said he would do poorly, but his number one ally in 8-bit is on this season, Jenny. Before anything, my preseason winner pick, I'm going to say is Jenny. Honestly, I don't even think she wins, but if anyone makes it to the end, like, maybe not the end, but the end game, if I could pick any single person to make it to end game, it's Jenny. I don't see any way she goes out before 6th place. She's just such a good social player. I've never seen her not get in the top 6. She's just good at that. She just is. Maybe in a cast of such big threats, she could slip by and make the end and finally win. She probably has one before. I've never seen it, but she's my pick. She was player of the season and fan favorite in 8-bit. I really hope she does well. She was the last applicant, the 69th applicant. Funny number. Yeah, I mean, 8-bit, she was a top contender. Just looking at the numbers, episode 3 through 9. I mean, that's a good run. And I feel like we'll probably see a similar trajectory this season. I mean, I think she's a hard person not to like. She's going to go deep. If she can win a crucial immunity challenge or two, she could very well be the winner of the season. I could see her becoming the first 2-time player of the season. But yeah, in terms of her 8-bit game, she has a part of easy pre-merge votes. She threw a vote onto Kyle at the Brian boot in case of an idol, I believe. She I don't think that's true. I think Blooper messed up. I think he messed up on that shot. I don't think that's true. She then voted out Edvin and led the Michelle blind side, which was a great move for her because Michelle was in the opposing alliance and was also about to get an idol, but because she was voted out, Jenny was unable to get that idol. She was able to play not the next round, but the round after to negate 5 votes and take out Teddy, which was a great move. Unfortunately, Jenny would go out the next round because she was just too big of a threat. Despite having 3 people who had her as the number 1 most trusted and Ethan, Outlaw, and Rainside, the final 3, they just couldn't justify keeping her longer because of how likable she was. Like I said, I think at worst she gets like 6th place. I am so confident in her making it deep. Maybe I'm stupid, but I think she's going to do well. If I had to pick a winner pick, she's the one. Okay. Not too many people left. Off the top of my head, there's 7 people left, I think. 3 from Konoha, 1 from Kulain, 1 from Fodman, 2 from Mementos, and 1. Okay, that's 8 people left. So a third of the people. All of them are one-time players, so this should go quick-ish. I've definitely gone longer than the other podcasts, so fucking losers. 5 of them couldn't talk longer than one guy with a speech impediment. Sucks to be them. I will cover Morgan first, who initially dumbass microphone disconnected again. But first tribe, she had a rivalry with JSB, a good relationship with Morgo, who was the other Morgan. Made the final 4 with her and Peepaw, her other closest ally. Peepaw was definitely her closest ally. They made the final 2 together. I'll talk about it later, maybe. Morgan didn't have to worry about tribal again until the Dalek boot, and then from there, isn't in the majority. She votes for Patrick, fails, Dorian goes home. She votes for Jonah, fails, Brian goes home. But these 2 rounds, she does win immunity. The next round, Inferno wins immunity. It's looking bad for Morgan. She probably goes home. But then Patrick says, nah man, I'm out of here. So Patrick's gone. I could totally call him up right now and have him talk about it. But I won't, because why would I do that? I'm I'm not wasting more of my time. I think I just hit my mic. My bad. I'm not saying calling him would be a waste of time, but you know what I mean. Like, I already spent 5 minutes trying to get chainsaw noises to get to work for this, and who knows if it even picked up? I don't know. Will I even post this? Who knows? But Logan goes home at 9 if Patrick doesn't quit. Then she wins Final 8 immunity. She wins 7. She wins 6, which didn't matter. 5, 4, and 3. Most immunity wins by anyone in any season with 8 wins. And she also got 8 jury votes. Every single jury vote except Jonah. She has the closest game to a perfect game in Fuzz history, which is something very important to note. I also think her social game is underrated. She's not the best social player ever, but I think she's a lot better than people give her credit for. And honestly, she's either going to be a late pre-merge boot or like a mid-merge boot. I think if she's at the merge, once she loses a challenge, she's out. But I feel better about her than I think most people do. I would love to see her do well. I think she should do well. Yeah. Next up is Jonah. He's a high variance player, if you ask me. I could see him going pre-merge or I could see him winning. I want to say something like 15th is what he's going to get. Jonah was the third main character on that season. It was Parker and then Womack and then Jonah, and then Starry and then Morgan. It flipped a lot. But Jonah was ultimately the biggest character on that season, like overall. And that was because he made some nasty moves. He exiled himself and mutinied in order to build bonds with the other tribes so he could play the middle, and then he voted in the majority every single round except his boot in order to take out Noyan and Brian and Xander and Parker, all big players. Unfortunately, he couldn't get himself to live at the final 5, but he made big moves along the way, probably beats anyone in the end. Was a contender from every episode starting at episode 7. Yep, I didn't make that up. Yeah, big player. I want to see him do well. I worry about him though. I do. I hope he does well. Next up, Parker. Probably my second contender for a winner pick. I think he's the same field as Jenny in terms of being someone who, no matter what, is going to go deep. Like, maybe Parker gets idled out by someone like North who's threatened by him. It's like he is. Parker's probably getting somewhere between like 13th and like 4th. He's so likable. He's a great strategic player. He's great at positioning himself. But eventually his threat level is going to catch up to him, like it did in Konoha, where we saw him be. And the dominating... What tribe was it? The Might Guy tribe, yeah. He was on the Might Guy tribe. I was a part of some... He's part of the Justin boot, which is pretty big. After Justin mutinied for no reason and got himself out, dumbass. From there, Falco made the march, which he was basically the leader of the alliance of Jonah, Womack himself, Patrick, who else was in there? Awkward silence, my bad. Inferno and Starry. Then stuck together to take out Brian the following round. And then they took out Xander. But that, by this point, Parker's empire was kind of crumbling. He was exposed as this big threat. People knew of his idol. People knew of his deals. And at this point, there was just nothing he could do about it. He was a top contender for the first 9 episodes of the season. But after that, he was still in 3 episodes after that, not counting his boot. He just couldn't get back on the contenders. His game had blown up. There wasn't anything he could do. Ultimately, though, he did win fan favorite. He had great confessionals. I think this season he's going to do well. Like I said, she's probably my second contender for winner pick. Versus Jenny, third is probably Phil, I guess. But yeah, I'm excited for Parker. I think he'll do well. Okay, so Logan, one of the 3 runner-ups coming into the season. I think of the 3, I do have the most confidence in Badger. Then Logan would be my second pick. I think Logan had, honestly, some very strong positioning throughout Korean. On the original Armando tribe, they had a very solid core with Lido and Dahlia, and then Stephanie as a 4th, which they were pretty much able to just ride throughout the best of the pre-merge. Civ was an easy boot. From there, made the merge. Out of the merge is a bit wonky. You had the Stephanie idle out, the double quit, Jay idled out, and then Liquids was evacuated. So It's a bit messy there. You can't really say too much about their game there. Besides, they did fall behind a bit socially, but by the end game, they certainly caught up a bit. Um, the Dahlia blindside was a great move that Logan was on board with, along with Widow, Clasp, and Bucky. That was a big move for them. And then Final 6, you had the 3-2-1 that was partially organized by Logan, but that was mostly Bucky, to be honest. And Final 5, Logan somehow convinces them to go for Clasp, which should not have happened, which is very impressive. That won Logan best move. And then Logan was just able to comp out to the end. Came into the final tribal. Really should have won. I was thinking an 8-1, 7-2 by the end of it, but it came out a 6-3 the other way. Bucky basically made up a bunch at Final Tribal, which it's no secret that we think Logan should have won. Bucky was kind of toxic throughout the season. I mean, if you look at the Edgic chart, it's just straight over the top negative all the way through. I've never seen a streak of Edgic of the same tone that is that long and over the top nonetheless. It's insane. Um, but yeah, Logan's biggest flaw in Kurain was kind of lacking socially sometimes. So in Olympus, they were looking to fix that, and I think they did. Despite getting 19th place, 17 places worse than their previous season, Logan really fixed their biggest flaw. Like, off the bat, they were the #1 contender on that tribe. They were very well positioned with the likes of Starzy and Danny, other top power players on that tribe. Their social game was just so astronomically better this go around, and because of that, I think they really proved that they were there to make the most out of the second chance. And unfortunately, we know how it went. They swapped, got a bit of a messy swap. They probably would have been fine, but then they had a busy work day and were pushed to go by Double and Brian. So that was the end of Logan's game. But I think if Logan can keep up the activity from the beginning of the season and just carry that out for a while, Logan could have another deep run. I do worry that that won't happen, but if we do get true re-swap Olympus gameplay from Logan, I think we could be seeing a contender. I just worry that that either won't last or it'll get screwed over somehow. I have 4 people left. Zach, the third best winner to ever play this series. He was the #1 contender for every episode except 1, 2, and 7. Yes, I have that memorized. I am mentally ill. And when he wasn't #1, he was #2. Uh, his positioning on the Golden Deal tribe was what I would frankly call perfect. He was then put on the Ashen Wolves tribe with the 3 other captains. Should on paper be in the worst spot, but he just isn't. He's in the best spot because, fuck it, he's Zach. He's great socially. Zach, you should make that your status. Like, fuck it, he's Zach. He's great social. Just say fuck it, he's Zach. Please listen to this for that reason alone. He then pulls what would have backfired but didn't, which was the Austin blindside, which is just fucking incredible, dude. Amazing move. At this point, Austin had dethroned Zach for one episode as the biggest contender, and Zach took this personally. Dom had a legacy advantage. Zach tipped him off to like, yo, man, you should play that shit. So he did, and together the two of them put their votes in Austin. Zach pretended he didn't. Well, people caught on, but because of how good Zach is socially, those people didn't make it. And from there, Zach would just continue to dominate. Soaps went home. Dean went home. Fritzy then went home, who, with very close vote, Fritzy could have blown up Zach's game. She didn't. Saul then went home after exiling Zach, which was a terrible move, but Zach was able to convince Saul to do it. The next round, Lucy went home, which benefited Zach. Unfortunately, the next round, Teddy would go home, who was Zach's closest ally. But it wouldn't matter because Zach would then comp out to the end. Mason goes home the next round after Zach played an idol on Monday, just to make sure. Monday goes home next. Zach wins the game 7-1-0. Probably the most deserving win to be unanimous in Fuzz history. It looked to be an 8-0-0 going in. Cam was able to get Brissy's vote. in the end. But Zach's game is just straight domination, front to back. He is such a good player. I do worry about him not being able to replicate that, because, I mean, let's be honest, he has a threat coming into this. But he's also just so likable, and if he's able to get the threats together, I think he could have a good run. I think he's someone who could really place anywhere at, like, 16th and up, but I'm going to say he makes the merge and gets, like, 7th place. Maybe that's too generous, bit of an impulsive prediction, but I would love to see him do well, and I'm sure he would love to see himself do well too, because, I would hope he would want to see himself do well. Oh my god, I have been going on since 10:29. That was more than an hour and a half ago. I still have 3 people. Let's get into mementos. Persona? Persona? I don't know where I'm going. I love Persona. Mental illness. Yeah. CT, the winner of the season. Right off the bat, marked as this massive threat by a couple players. Apollo goes out saying, CT's gotta go, man. B-Dog says, CT's gotta go, man. GSA says, CT's gotta go, man. Guess who goes out in the next few rounds? B-Dog. GSA. Only one of them voted out by CT, but still. CT takes out GSA and his number 1 ally, Marine, at the second swap tribe. And then votes out Huntress, who, at this point, this is the weakest point of CT's game. CT should have gone home at the final 11, but because of Huntress's basically quit, CT is able to make it by another round. CT then loses the vote at the first round after it's stolen by Sams, which leads to Evan going out, which isn't good for CT, but it wasn't the worst. CT then takes out Sams. We then get the iconic 2-2-2-2, which leads to Lenny being knocked out, which is terrible, puts CT in a terrible position. CT's probably going home soon, but then just isn't. Plays a masterful endgame, the best part of the game, takes out Sachi and Shin back-to-back, then Aaron, and then wins 4-3-0 at Final Tribal, despite coming into it not looking to be the winner. CT was able to pull out the win over Bryce, who was, frankly, the top contender for most of the game. Quite an impressive Final Tribal by CT, able to really showcase why he deserves it. He has a great social story, he had a great endgame, and he's just a damn good arguer. I think CT could have... I don't know what to think of CT this season. My gut says pre-merge. When pre-merge, I don't know. But I'm feeling pre-merge. Speaking of pre-merge, I unfortunately feel the same way about Sachi. I could see Sachi going pre-swap. I love Sachi. Player of the season, fan favorite, great player. He does have ads who wants to work with him, which is a cool thing. But Sachi, something I want to talk about is when an org has someone who genuinely has an arc that's not contrived at all. I love that. I mean, Brian has his arc through his 2 seasons of being the villain who wants to become a hero, but he just can't do it, and he goes back into being a villain, and is as villainous as he's ever been. Sachi's arc is about how he's scared to make moves, but then he begins to and makes the biggest moves ever and learns that he can play for himself and do it well and be the player of the season. It's a really heartfelt story, and Sachi just does such a good job pulling it off. I mean, there's not too much to say for him pre-merge besides he's a solid contender, but at the final 10, he's part of the Evan Brian side. Fortunately, he loses Sams. He could have saved him, doesn't. Finally, organizes a 2-2-2-2. How the fuck did he do that? I don't know. A 2-2-2 is in 2-2-2-2 direction is insane. I don't know how he did it. That's awesome. Lenny gets locked out. Probably the best person for Sachi's game to be locked out. But yeah, Lenny goes there. And then Moon, who Sachi votes for. But then unfortunately, Sachi's target is just too big. Sachi takes the bullet. It's sad, but what can you do? I worry about Sachi this season. I know he's busy with work, as I can see on the sidebar in his status. Great timing for him to be online. And I think his time zone could hold him. But I hope it doesn't. I want another iconic run from Sachi. But even if he flops, I mean, who else can say they did a 2-2-2-2? I mean, come on. Yeah. And the final person who might drop, so if they drop, then I'm gonna have to learn to edit, because I know this whole video I've said I don't know how to edit, but if this person drops, I will edit this out. I will find a way, mark my words. And if she doesn't drop, I won't edit it out. So you'll get this rambling. But that person is Ellie, who I said earlier to not forget that Minnie had the mini trajectory. Well, I dubbed that term for Ellie. And I said at the end of the pre-merge in Soul Society that Ellie has the mini trajectory. Not in the greatest spot at all pre-merge. But if she's able to get a swap with some of her OG tribe mates and really strategically connect with them, she could be in a great spot. Truly an amazing spot. And that exact thing happened like I called it. She really bonded with Morgan and Rennie, and then went into Morge in a great spot. She had so many options. At Final 10, she could have sided with Nikki or not. She didn't, which ended up being the right move for her, because even after taking out Nikki, Nikki respected the hell out of her, campaigned for her in the jury. The next two quits make things a little wonky, but Ellie was a part of the plushie blind side organized by Neve, which is awesome move, huge move, great boon for Ellie's resume, and sticks together with Blossom and Neve to take out Molly, and then Clara, and then Ellie and Blossom flip on Neve at 4 to take out Neve, and then Jaffe. Ellie throughout this all has only a couple wins, but is actually just like a comp beast. There's just a couple of those this season. Wins in the game 5-2 over Blossom. Great Final 2, first all-woman Final Tribal in Fuzz history. So sad that took 23 seasons, but good job on them. Great Final 2. Honestly, well fought on both of them. I think Ellie is another one of the safer winners to make it fall. She could struggle early on and go because of that. But if she doesn't, I think there's no way she doesn't make the merge. And at that point, why target her over other winners? I feel good about her, and yeah, I feel great about her. Final thing I want to talk about is just general over what I expect placements to be again. And an overview of how I expect the early game to go. We have the Mario tribe of Beaker, Highspace, Athena, Beth, Jenny, Az, Sachi, Minnie. I think Highspace, Beth, Azorius probably make a threats thing. I think Jenny probably connects with everyone and is on the top, along with Beth. I think Beagle would be in a fine spot. Athena probably too, probably towards the bottom, but not the best. Leaving Sachi and Minnie on the bottom. I think Sachi would be safe because of her relationship with Az, leading to Minnie being the first boot on that tribe. On DK, I think Paint, Tuckle, Phil, Lai probably make a winners alliance. Parker probably gets roped in for being a god, and then Jalen probably too for being a god. That leaves Ocean and Outlaw on the bottom. I could see this tribe losing multiple times pre-swap, leading to these two going out back to back. But if only one does, I would say Ocean. And finally, Link. DK, I don't believe I said everyone on it. It was Paint, Tucker, Phil, Lai, Parker, Ocean, Jalen, Outlaw. I guess I did say everyone. You hear it again. Link is Moo, Zach, Ellie, CT, North, Jonah, Logan, Badger. And honestly, that tribe, I don't know who goes. I have no actual idea. I don't think it would be Zach. I don't think it would be Ellie. I don't think it would be Jonah. I don't think it would be Badger. I don't think it would be Logan. North, CT, and Moo are all options. I don't know, man. That tribe is so it could be anyone. It could be a 4-4. Anything could happen there, man. I don't know what happens. I want to see what happens. I guess my mic doesn't want to see what happens. I don't know why it's cut out. But yeah, that's weird. It didn't come back for a long time either. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to say. I mean, I think it's very obvious how much this series means to me and the passion I have for this series. I just yapped for 2 hours about this stupid ass game. Thank you if anyone listened. If you did, please tell me. I know I'm probably hard to understand at points. I got my high as hell voice, but I did enjoy doing this. My voice hurts like hell, but if it's any reception at all, that's not negative. I might I've always wanted to do like a YouTube channel or something where I just yap about like whatever. If anything, like maybe I'll do videos like I think it'd be fun to do a player ranking for every season individually. Like casting videos like, oh, if Arcane was All Stars 3, who would be on it? I'd love to do like YouTube videos or something like that. So if anyone would like to see that, let me know. But for now, I gotta end this eventually, so I'll do it now because it is midnight 15 and I am eepy. So thanks everyone. Have a good night or morning or whatever the fuck it is for you. Yeah, I talk way too much, man.